That's the best, yeah. That is the best, yeah. Oh, it's the
the audio on that is some girl lying on the floor with a oxygen mask on, and then you two pissing yourself laughing. I mean, that's a good one, really good, isn't it?
That's a fucking belter, that is.
But the best is that Madeline just set a PR in the marathon.
That might be one of the funniest things I've ever seen. I love it.
It's just not enough putting it.
Oh,
like
God. That is an absolute belter. Oh, I love it, Mel. I love that you've collected these.
I used to collect stupid stuff like that, but that one's cracked me up. That little jump scare.
Who's that picture? Oh,
why? It's almost like she's took that with her, you know, like.
I know to put on.
Would they lay you on the floor and give you a mask, or would they put you in a chair?
That's a good one. Do you follow? Is it who's it? Amiga, you know the guy.
Yeah.
And he does all the piss takes. He does a really good one.
And it's
a remake of a woman who's just broken up with a boyfriend and she's in a car crying and she's filmed herself and he like does it and he sets it up first. And he's all like normal, and then as soon as he switches it on, he starts crying for effect. It's really funny, but it's like that. It's like
carry on.
One of those accounts. Yesterday after London Marathon, literally last couple of 100 meters, it floods of tears. But like selfie camera filming at the same time. Like, what? Why would you be filming yourself crying?
You just wouldn't, would you? It's so staged. It's so set up.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. We'll have to go through a few of those in the episode, won't we?
Smile, Mel.
Is that working? You on? Yeah, isn't it?
That's what I don't get. Like when I first started running, the times like in marathons and things like that, they're obviously just normal times. But I was still super happy and proud of whatever time it was, kind of thing. Now it's just like no one can just be happy. They have to post an excuse, even though they post like a good time, don't they? Or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where it comes from, the pressure or something. I don't know.
People still getting PBs and then put in, it was too hot. It was this like just be happy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Once you get any time under 3.5 hours, even to knock 5 minutes off, it's hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Because you're doing the best.
Definitely.
You can do.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
But it's weird with excuses sometimes. I just don't get why.
Those DNF posts are beautiful. That's an absolute belter. Is that one? That's the best I've seen. That's the best I've ever seen. That one. That's great. You're gonna have to do something on that, Gary. I can see his brain wearing now for an Instagram reel.
Yeah. Well, yeah. All that. It's just...
all that Alex Bowman as well.
Yeah, that's true.
There's there's a lot because you that Strava account was also like inspiration for some of the ones, you know, like when people mowing the lawn or whatever. We spoke about it, didn't I? I was coaching someone who used to stick their golf on Strava.
Oh, yeah.
And they were golfing more than they were running. So I'd look at their volume and it's like, oh, that's picked up. But doing 4 rounds of golf a week on their
time-wise, you're hitting all the goals.
Exactly. Like, how was he putting 20
hours in?
Yeah, it's like 24 hours in total. Oh, he's done 3 hours of running. 4 rounds of golf.
Right, I think we're good to go.
Go on then.
Let's make a start.
Welcome.
Finally. Welcome to the RUNcensored podcast with me, Ben Mounsey, Gary House, and our special guest today, Mel Sykes. Mel, welcome.
Thank you very much. Good to be here.
Appreciate you making the journey up from West Yorkshire.
That's all right.
Our home county.
It is.
Our local patch. Look, before we start, a quick intro. I'm going to let yourself introduce yourself. If you do a shit job, I'll do it. But a few words about who you are, what you do. It doesn't have to be too long. Saves me doing it.
I'm Mel. I run, drink coffee, eat cake, and I'm a podiatrist.
That's a great
That's
intro.
about it, yeah.
I like that. I mean, we've known each other now for quite a long time.
Yeah.
And we're always following each other's journeys. We don't meet up enough, really, do we? But I always like following you on Twitter because I think you just document everything really, really well. It's nice to see where you're up to. You were recently in Mallorca, I think, cycling, weren't you, as well?
Yes, I love going to Mallorca cycling. I only really do it in Mallorca now because he's just so busy on roads in this country. Just, don't know, get too nervous going out on road bike, but I absolutely love cycling. I'd love to do it more, but
yeah, and it's a good way as well to recover from the running sometimes, isn't it? Because you've also recently done the spine, the winter spine, which we're going to talk in great detail about. I mean, it's the first
why
time...
did you choose Mallorca after that then?
One extreme
bit of a difference,
yeah,
a bit of a difference.
Yeah.
But this is the first time you and Gary have met, and I've purposely not told Gary too much about your story because it is a very inspiring one as well. I know you'll play it down, but I think it's probably a good place to start really, because October 2003 you had brain surgery.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
23.
23. So what, a year and a half ago?
Yeah.
And then just over a year later, you're doing the winter spine. So we'll talk about the winter spine after we've talked about the brain surgery, but right, take us back to that point, because that must have been a pretty...
Straight in there, Ben.
yeah.
Straight
in there, straight warming up, yeah. I didn't want to go into the spine first, because I thought we need to warm it up with the brain surgery, really. So, yeah, talk to us about that. How did you...
So
find out about that first of all?
started, I'd done Lakeland 50 in July, and then I just started with double vision, but it were only when I were driving. So you just see two car in front. So I'd just be like driving about, and you could see, two cars, which are really weird. But you get to like over 40 and you just think it's your eyesight going, because that's a natural thing, innit? You wouldn't think that your brain's slipping out. You just think, oh, something wrong with my eyes. So that started that way. And then over about 2 months, all these other symptoms came on until I ended up in hospital. So left arm went numb, slurred speech, left side of my face went numb, like lost my balance, like I had a tremor in my head all the time.
Really
so
scary.
Like going like, oh yeah, it were horrendous, yeah.
Okay. And how long had this been going on for, did you say, before you realised and you'd been diagnosed with that?
Double vision started in... I think that had come on gradually, but maybe I noticed it May, June time of that year.
Yeah.
Lakeland 50 were end of July, and then I went off work August, and then after I'd gone off work, within about 2 weeks, all of the symptoms came on, and then they admitted me to hospital because they thought I had a stroke, because it were all stroke symptoms. It's all neuro, innit? So... Yeah.
Yeah.
But it were weird because even though you've got all these symptoms going on, I didn't feel unwell. So that's what's a bit strange, like all this stuff's happening, but you don't feel poorly.
And was it gradually getting worse, or was it coming in waves kind of thing?
No, it got worse. Yeah, I started with double vision, and then over the time, I went to kept going to doctors, and because you look healthy on outside, so I'm sat talking to the doctor, and I said, if I look at that wall, there's 2 posters side by side, and I can see him looking at me thinking, is this last, like...
Wasn't 2 doctors, was it?
Yeah, both doctors were both saying. But you can see them looking at you and like not believing you because I'm just like, look, I can see 2 of them, and they were like, all right.
And did it take them a while to realise what was...
I paid private to go and see a consultant privately, and because I kept going back to my GP, and they were like, "Oh no, we think..."
They didn't know what was wrong.
They didn't know what was wrong, no, because I think it's quite common to have this malformation, but it's unusual to get symptoms to where it was so bad, and for them to come on so quick, like mine did. So they sent me into Halifax Hospital, and I was there a week, in and out at blooming MRI machine while they were doing full MRIs of my spine, and then they found the malformation, which is the bit of your brain that does balance, speech, all that sort of stuff, falls out the bottom of your skull, so then it plugs the gap between... It's really weird. Jesus. And talking about it now is really weird.
Yeah.
So it plugs the gap between your spine and your spinal column.
The nerves. Yeah.
So it just drops down and puts a plug in there. So it stops your spinal fluid going round. It's just like you've had a stroke, but it just comes on out of nowhere. It said it's just mainly women, and once you get over 40, I'm like, oh, cheers.
I mean, it can't be that common though, can it? I mean, you're saying that's who usually kind of happens to that demographic, but it must be quite a rare thing, surely.
Yeah. I think what the surgeon said to me was, if the MRI'd 100 women, maybe 80% would have this malformation, but it doesn't get to the stage where it causes symptoms. So it's a common thing to have, that the cerebellum's drop down, but it's just uncommon that... I think mine were 15.
But it drops so much.
Yeah, that it drops so much where it plugs the gap.
Because I remember I remember you first tweeting about this, and you said like my brain's falling out of my head. I think that's the terminology you use. And then I was like, oh my God, like this is like really serious. And then I sort of like obviously was following the the progress that you were making. And I mean, I saw the afterwards the picture you posted, because you'd literally got like stitches all the way up the back of your neck, hadn't you?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a serious operation, isn't it?
Yeah.
How long were you? Talk to us about being in hospital and the process of like having that operation, and how long did it take for all that to happen?
It were weird, really, because I was like looking forward to op. You know, when you've been so fit and someone tells you this is what's wrong.
Yeah. Was it a relief almost that you got a diagnosis in the end?
Yeah. Because I'd had 8 days in Calderdale Hospital, and then I'd been home for 10 days before they got me into Leeds, which is the neuro unit. So when I walked in and saw the neurosurgeon and they were like, this is what's wrong, this is what I need to do, I was like, oh, thank.
Yeah, at least you've got a clear path, haven't you then, I suppose?
You know that. And he said, I need to do this operation. Got me in I saw him on the Tuesday, he got me on the Friday, and it were done then. So even though it were a really risky op, I mean, you're trusting someone with...
What are the survival and death like chances compared to like, you know, like what were you given? Were you given like, it's serious. It's not like she's gone in to put a plaster on her finger, is it? Yeah. Like there must have been.
Well, when you speak to a surgeon, like my limited knowledge, like through my back and everything, they're blunt with the numbers and stuff, aren't they? It's like this is, but like Mel, you're at that point. Well, this has to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your choices?
The numbers are almost irrelevant to a certain degree. So then it's like, do I really want to know? It's just let's go and get it done, I guess.
And I mean, I know there's obviously that relief of having the diagnosis, but there's also got to be a major fear of like this. You know, you're going in and you don't know what's going to happen, do you? You don't know if you're going to come out the same. No. You know, I know these are hard hitting questions, aren't they? But it's the truth, isn't it? Like you must have been like really worried going in.
Yeah, I was. When I wasn't until they wheeled me down but then you don't know because they put the thing in your arm and she said, tell me what you enjoy doing. And I'm like, I like running. And then next minute you're out. Yeah. And then 5 hours later you're awake with a horrendous headache, staples in the back of your head, catheter in. You're like, what the hell's gone on? Well, I've been asleep for 5 hours.
When you came round, did you slowly remember what happened, or were you just
no, I felt horrendous. I felt horrendous, yeah.
Did you know immediately like what had happened? Could you remember, you know, going in and...
I could remember getting wheeled down, and then next minute you woke up in like the recovery room, and I just remember having this horrendous headache because obviously they sliced through all nerve endings. Back of my head's still numb. He said that might never come back, the numbness, because obviously they cut through all nerve endings, don't they, to get to it. But I didn't actually see the staples until about a week later because it had a plaster over it, and then I took it off, and it were like week before Halloween.
How quickly?
That's when.
And how quickly can he say this was a success? Because I guess that's what you wanted to know quite soon, isn't it? Even though I'm in this pain, like, did it work or? Yeah,
he came round, I think maybe 2 days after op surgeon, and he said everything went well. Yeah. So that's main thing that you're glad that there were a couple of different things that they could have done, and he said he didn't know until they'd got in there, like they had to remove just the top vertebrae, but he said sometimes it's 1, 2 and 3 depending on how far down they have to go. So because they only took I think the recovery's a lot longer if they take C2 and C3 because obviously that's all your stability for your neck. So I was lucky that they only had to take the top one, so I didn't have like a wobbly head after too much.
Just playing my role here, did we need to do a risk assessment to have Mel here today?
That'd be far too professional for me and Gary, wouldn't it? I mean, you've been an avid runner and a cyclist for as long as I've known you. Did they say like this is going to affect you now for the rest of your life, and you might not be able to do the running that you were doing before, or even cycle to a certain level, or were they always confident that you would recover and do all the things that you love doing?
He actually said he didn't know because a lot of this that happens when people get this malformation, it's in quite sedentary people. Yeah. So I'm trying to say to him, can I get back to running 50, 100 milers? And he's like, I don't, like, we'll just have to see. He just didn't know. He was sort of guided by me because he's never had someone that said that sort of thing. Most people are just happy to get back to work or get back to some normality. most people aren't wanting to.
You're thinking, I've got an ultra next week. Can I still run?
I need to be on it.
Please, can I get back on the Pennine Way?
And he's probably thinking, gosh.
Were you training for anything at the time before your diagnosis as well? Were you kind of looking forward to doing something? But obviously that got set back. Like, is there anything that you were...
I don't think I'd entered. Oh, no, I'd had the spine entered for the January Challenger North.
Yeah.
So obviously
for the 2004, which would have been January. So obviously you were going to take the line there, were you? But yeah, because I know you're always out on the Pennine Way training. I see a lot of your runs on Strava, and a lot of your pictures on Twitter, because I think you document some of the runs that you do really, really well. I mean, you've written a lot actually for the Sports Shoe site as well. You've done some really nice routes like the Ullswater Way. You've done the West Highland Way as well a few times. So you're somebody who really lives it. So that's why I asked the question about, you must have also been super worried about not being able to get back to doing all those things that you loved.
Do you know what though? I didn't even think about that for the first sort of 2 months after the op, because you feel that shit when you came round. I got discharged from hospital back to my parents, and I lived with them for 6 weeks after, because didn't want to live on my own. You don't know what you're going to be able to do. And all I could do was lay with curtains shut in a dark room, because any little bit of light that came through, your head would just the most horrendous headaches. Yeah, so... And
excuse the pun, but you must have gone through some dark times there, as in, were you did you suffer from depression at all? Or, I mean, I asked Gary a similar question when he went through all his injury sort of nightmare as well, but there must have been some really low points.
Do you know, I don't really remember being in it, which is weird, isn't it, when you've gone through something like that? But I think I've got such a good friendship group. People will come in, taking me out in car, taking me to cafes still. Obviously, I were with my parents. My mum would bring me toast every day. It were, I don't know. I think I was just that relieved that something had been done, and it was something that could be sorted, because the worst thing, when I was in hospital for 8 days before they could do anything, they didn't know what were wrong. So one doctor had come round and said, "Oh, we think it might be MS." So then you start Googling that, and then, "Oh, we think you've had a stroke." So you're Googling that. So you don't really know,
I remember saying to Ben at the time, I'd got pushed pillar to post in terms of what the injury was, and then I thought it was someone else thought it was some kind of autoimmune disease and all sorts, and that's where we were going, and it was just a bad disc herniation that would pushing on the nerve. And it's like you say, once you have it in black and white, it was almost like it was not one of the worst outcomes I could have had, but then you've got an outcome, haven't you? And then, like you said, those months afterwards, I know you'd been through an operation and everything, but mine was like a line in the sand when I had the traumatic event, can't walk and all that stuff. Every single day you're kind of, even though you feel horrendous, there is a bit of improvement, whether I'm dragging my leg around or whatever. So I can see why people do get down and get depressed and stuff, but also, I'm sure Mel was probably similar. You kind of can see
progress,
see a bit of progress.
Yeah. And
I remember saying to you, races and running wasn't really top of mind. But because you're in that mindset of well, tomorrow will be a better day, or a better day, or a better day. I'll see what I can do tomorrow. I think that's once you kind of got that level of so low down, there's only one way up, isn't there? Yeah. You're not battling injury at that point.
No, you're on your recovery, and you think, a friend's coming next week, and you might walk to Endert Road, and then week after you're going to go back onto Pennine Way with someone, and so you're just focusing on that.
How long did it take before you were sort of out walking around and even going off road as well? Few weeks, few months?
Yeah, maybe. I think my friend Dan came and took me out about 4 weeks after I'd from my parents. And then I did Meltham Santa Dash on that week before Christmas. So I managed to do that. That were 3 miles in a Santa suit.
That's pretty good going then, isn't it? So that was end of October when you had the op, and then end of December pretty much.
3 miles. I mean, we only walked it. We didn't run the Santa Dash.
And when you first started going out, whether you were walking or hiking or running or whatever, were you conscious? Were you waiting for the blurred vision or the double vision, or were you waiting for those symptoms again? How long did you kind of wait until you go, I think it's actually clear?
Well, the double vision I only stopped wearing my glasses October last year. So exactly a year after the op, the double vision stopped, which were really weird. And that was the first symptom that came on, and that was last one to go. Yeah. Before that, everything else resolved. Like my hand, I was just physioing, with those squidgy balls to get that moving again. But yeah, it was just the balance and the double vision.
So it was still slow progress getting out of those symptoms as well.
Yeah, a year really till most stuff had gone completely. But yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
And then wind the clock forward. We'll go into the spine in more detail. It's almost 14 months after you had that surgery, you'd taken the line to the winter spine. When did you decide to put your name in the ring for the winter spine? At what point did you think, I'm just going to get straight back to it? A bit like Gary with Transgran Canaria after a big injury. Big goal to go for.
When I got offered a free place, that was...
That always swings it. I will get there.
Was that the same thing, was it?
That spine won't give you no for free,
no,
will
it?
Definitely won't give you no for free. I know that. Yeah.
So I'd always planned to do... I'd always wanted to do the winter spine, and then the January just after I'd had the op, I'd entered the Challenger North. So I just thought the year after that, because you never know what's going to happen.
You didn't do that one then?
No, I didn't do that one.
Yeah, you just jumped straight in over the top.
Santa Dash were highlight that time. But you never know what's going to happen then, do you? So I just thought, do you know what? I'm just going to enter, instead of going up to the Challenger North and then the full spine.
Yeah,
I'm just going to go in and
live for the moment. Yeah, you don't know what's around the corner, do you?
No. So I just put my name in the hat for that. Lucky to get in as well now. At one time
really
you'd think there can't be that many folk that would want to do something as daft as that, but it's just, I think it was like 3 minutes or something, it sold out the full winter for this year.
Gosh.
And then waiting list, this 200 on waiting list within 3 minutes, that were full as well. So
did that give you obviously it gave you something to aim for, but were you straight away when you'd entered it, were you like, right, I'm just training for that? Were you just focused on that for almost like the full year then pretty much?
Yeah, just little, I had some little goals. So I did Pennine Barrier, that was in the May, and I thought if I can do that, then there was Lakeland 100 end of July, and I thought if I can hit those two, then I know I'm on track for being able to get fit enough for them.
So the first big race really was that Pennine Barrier, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Which starts in Malham,
beginning of May,
runs out to, it's a beautiful route, isn't it? It goes over Fountains Fell, Pennygent, and you pretty much do the Three Peaks route, don't you? And then come back the same way then.
Yeah.
It's like a lollipop shape. It's a really beautiful route. We were talking briefly about it in the kitchen.
Who does this one? Is this a
GB Ultras
one as well?
Yeah.
Were you really nervous about taking the line for that as your first race? Probably more so even than the spine, because that was the first big one back.
That was the first big one back, yeah. Well, do you know what? I don't really get nervous before races. It's more...
You look forward to the adventure and the journey.
You just look forward to doing it, yeah.
I suppose that's the thing with ultras as well. You're not going like hard from the gun, are you? You can build your way in. It's obviously you're out for a long time, but it's as much about the experience as the racing part of it as well.
Especially on routes like that as well, because you're going to see views as well, aren't you?
Beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're doing them for that sort of thing. And a lot of time when you've been training for endurance or running as long as we have, you've built your endurance anyway. So the first 2 hours of any run, you can feel a bit shit, can't you?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you come round and you're like, oh, this is great now.
Yeah.
So you know that you're going to sort of get more used to it further you go.
Had your mindset changed at all? Because you've been quite competitive, haven't you, in these races? Did you go into it thinking, I'm just going to enjoy the day out and see where it takes me? Or did you have that competitive mindset even though it was your first race back? Because I'm assuming it was a bit different, put it that way, because you hadn't raced for so long, for one. Two, because of everything you'd been through. Bet you didn't know how it was going to go to a certain degree.
No. And I was surprised. I think I did 10 and a half hours, I think, for it, which is pretty good, really, for that route. Yeah. But I think with then, obviously, you've no speed. You lose your speed a lot quicker than you lose endurance. And because I've run and I'd done the longer races the year before, I think the endurance, even though we're out for 6 months, maybe-ish, I wouldn't have been able to go and do a fast part run or a 10k, but the endurance you can sort of keep.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah,
I said to Ben, there's no way I would have thrown myself into trying to run a fast marathon, but I felt okay going to do Transgran Canaria because I knew you could kind of get round. It's just a different way.
Yeah, it's a different type of racing, isn't it?
Yeah. And like you said, I didn't feel good for the first 4 hours, really. I didn't really know how hard to run for 4 hours, which sounds ridiculous, doesn't it? But when you've got such a long day ahead of you, like even 10 hours is a long run, isn't it? Good effort.
With a race like that as well, I expect you're going to have like low points and high points, and you're going to feel shit. You're going to also feel pretty good at some point as well, aren't you? So you're going to come out of it at some point, aren't you?
Yeah.
You'd hope so.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's a long day out.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then, so you bounced onto the Lakeland 100 after that then?
Yes.
Yeah. Did you do anything in between, or were you just kind of then focused on the Lakeland
Just
100?
a couple of, do you know Daz Graham, who does the Crag Runner ones around where we live? A couple of theirs. They're a good, just like little friendly events. A couple of the long distance Walkers Association, £8 for.
They're great out there.
They're absolutely brilliant. Them.
Yeah.
And because they didn't allow runners in it at one time, did they? Into the
no,
walking
that's right.
ones.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I first dipped my feet in with those with the Hebden 22,
of
which is
course.
one of my favourite all time. I say races, it's not really a race, is it? Because it's a long distance walking route, 22 miles. It's changed a little bit. I think it's like 20, 21 now. But the best thing about those is that they've got these stops on the way, and they've got tea and coffee, haven't they, at various places, with sandwiches, cakes, and we're talking full spreads, aren't we? We're talking like rooms full of food. So for me and you, and I know we love our running, but we also love our coffee and our cakes and our food. They are the best, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, they are. And what, like £12, something like that for 20 odd miles?
Talk about value from it. I love getting value
I've never
from
known
it.
someone talk about food in racing so much. He only ever runs 10k miles.
That's why it's a real novelty. It's a real high point when I can eat a sandwich on a route.
Never done a race over an hour, and he still climbs it.
Any excuse to eat, yeah. Definitely. But no, they're good for almost training for races out there, those long distance.
Yeah, because there's no pressure on them either.
No.
You just set off. A lot of them you can set off, they give you like an hour's slot. So you turn up, pick your number up, and you just head off on your own. So you're not really. Some people do everything competitively though, don't they?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
if they've got that nature.
But you're right. It's nice to have like a little break. I always used to do that Hebden because it was like the first race of the season. It's in January, and it was a good way to start without having that early season pressure, because you're coming out of winter. You've been eating a lot over Christmas, so I eat a lot over Christmas, and sometimes it's just nice to get one under your belt without having to feel that pressure. But the good out there, the long distance, so LDWA website, if anyone wants to find out more, is a good place to look at
and
what
you can
routes are
join
around
I think the local one for like Marsden's called the Irregulars.
Yeah.
But you can join your local one for your area or any other area. Once you've joined up with the LDWA, you can join whichever area, and they'll send you like the emails are a little bit like but they're good to find events. Have you still got course record for Hebden, do you think?
Yeah, it's just they've slightly changed the route a little bit. So I know Chris
You've got
Holdsworth.
the course record. Oh, I thought you saw about the walking one.
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, so
so he's one of these ones. He's got
turns up in his vest and his shorts.
Yeah, I put it in my Instagram bio as well. Yeah, no, I haven't, honestly.
Doing strides up and down everyone.
I promise, I'm not.
Elbowing people out of the way.
I do remember one year though, because I used to do it every single year, and I once did it, and I was desperate for the toilet before the start of the race, and it's so relaxed the start of these races that I'd gone into the cubicle, and when I came out, because it was right before the start, they'd all set off, and I literally had to set off behind like about 500 people to try and get to front, and I didn't catch my mate Gav until about 3 miles in. We were running together, and he didn't know where I was, so I came out, and it was just like a ghost town. Everyone had gone.
Because you cross Main Road, and then it goes up through that wood, but it's only a single.
Yeah, it is.
Steps in it first bit.
It's very hard to pass
so if
people.
If you were stuck behind,
bet you were fuming.
Oh, no, I was absolutely fuming. But the route has changed a little bit over the years. I know it's slightly shorter now. It starts from a slightly different place. So Chris Holdsworth did run, if we're going to have records, I think he's got the record on the new course now, because it's slightly different to the one I did. But I always used to use that as a good measure.
You've archived your record, have you?
That's
that
it.
can't
I've
be
protected
beaten.
it. I've locked it in. Yeah. Gary knew where I was going with that one. He knows my game.
Asterisks after everyone else's.
That's it. Yeah, forever
Short
up there.
course.
Yeah, too right. So, let's get into spine. I mean, I know it sounds strange me just diving straight into the kind of brain surgery question, but I know that we need a lot of time to talk about the spine because, you know, a massive race that it is now, you coming in having had this brain surgery like 14 months before, you said you don't get nervous before races. Did you make an exception for this one?
I wasn't nervous about the race. The kit and making sure everything's sorted before is just like nothing else for that race. Most of the time you turn up and you've got your waterproof trousers, your coat and maybe a foil blanket. The stuff for the spine is horrendous, and the kit check's quite thorough, which it's got to be, hasn't it? Especially after the conditions for this year.
Yeah.
There was a lot of DNFs, obviously, and a lot of it's down to kit because you've got to be able to keep warm. So I get why they're so strict with the kit, but the kit makes an already stressful race even more stressful. But I was really looking forward to it. The race we've been through, I'd been out on a couple of recce weekends with the girls, so I knew the whole route. Obviously I live on the first bit and spend loads of time running on that.
That was going to be something else I touched upon, because it does actually come not too far from where we are now. We're in Thresfield. It comes across Malham from Gargrave and through Ayrton, and then so I've done quite a lot this side, but I've also done a lot out what I say our side, which is sort of Kirklees, Calderdale, and we are lucky that we do live on that route. So your training must have been pretty much perfect, because you could go and access it, and you could get out there, not just learning where to go, but also just getting used to that terrain and those types of climbs and those conditions, because you've got to prep yourself for those, because in the middle of winter, and we all know, it's not just about knowing where you're going, it's about wearing the right kit for those conditions, because you know, you're running through ice and snow sometimes. I noticed when Mark Derbyshire did it, was it this year or last year? I'd have worn shin pads, and his shins. I have worn shin pads in races. I'm not even joking, but you're used to that, aren't you? So that must have like really given you a lot of confidence.
Yeah. Well, the good thing after seeing Mark's photo of his shins just absolutely ripped him. They were just burnt, weren't they, from snow?
There were blood on the snow, wasn't there, where he's breaking through, because he's in first at the time, and that must have been
so sore. I had the knee high deck shells on, so that helped as well, because obviously that stopped the cold getting to your shins. But it's having that
experience, though, isn't it? The kit is such a huge part of it, and
I think a lot of it is, especially as the years go on, you have your kit list, which is obviously extensive. I've seen it, and I've had to help people through it and stuff. If you're experienced, though, you can kind of know what everything's for, don't you? But the more experienced, I think, will have kit on top of the kit list, because the kit list is like the minimum, but then you need stuff to suit you in certain temperatures, certain situations and stuff. I think that's where so many people get caught out. They just take the kit list, and they don't think about certain situations like that. And some of it is a learning curve, I guess, but some of that is, well, that's part of the race, isn't it? Prepping yourself for stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think that's why I've entered again for this January, but I think that's why a lot of people do go back. That have done it, because there's so many lessons that you learn when you do it for the first time, that when you go back again, you think, right, I need 2 of them, or I need extra of this, and I don't need this. I borrowed, I think it was a Thermarest super light something to take as my bivy mat, and then ended up asleep on the toilet floor in Horton in the piss and freezing cold, and it just wasn't good enough. But someone had lent it me, and I thought that's going to be light to carry, but which is fine until you actually find yourself.
Did you give it back after Spine?
I've given it back. She didn't want it though.
I bet she didn't.
I know. After it had been on Horton toilet floor. Oh god.
You could have signed it for her. Sold it on eBay. Sold it on Gary's OnlyFans.
Well, it's just stuff like that. It's a fine line between the lightest kit, so you don't have to carry it, but then is it going to be any good if you actually need it?
Practical,
and some years you can probably get away with that, because you'd never need to use the sleeping mat. But
and it's so different in terms of, like, when you see someone, it's great, the media coverage great and everything, you see some of the front runners finishing 80 hours to 100 hours and stuff like this, but then you got to remember, are you going to be one of those people, or are you going to be one of those people that are going to be out for days after that? And you've got to choose the right kit for that situation as well.
Yeah, and by the last couple of days, so cold, even though the sun was out.
Yeah.
But you're just that depleted by then. I think when I finished, I had 7 coats on.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah, if you look at my finished video, just like loads of layers zipped up because I had 2 thermal layers, a wind layer, then like my Montane padded jacket, then my waterproof. Yeah, I had seven jackets on when I went over at finish line.
You just can't get your core temperature back up, can you? You're so calorie depleted, you're so energy depleted, sleep depleted. I'm making it sound like I've done it, but but I can imagine that's why you just can't get that core temperature up. So yeah, you do.
And you're not moving fast enough either by then to generate enough heat.
I know that it's an extensive kit list. Like, what does it consist of? Because I'm somebody who just runs Bofras and like short distance races. Gary mentioned 10k distance, even though I eat a lot of food on these runs. But I'm not carrying all that kit. I'm just carrying bare minimum, which you can get away with. But for this, you need all that. It's expensive as well to get it, isn't it? But what is the sort of general kit list, just roughly?
A lot.
Yeah,
there's a lot. Yeah, sleeping bag.
How many pages is it? It's like
I think the documents 30 odd pages.
It's like 32 pages or something.
Yeah.
Gosh, so a few. I suppose, can you stash it as well at different places? Like
no, you've got to have it on you all the time.
Right.
Yeah, so every time you leave.
What I meant is, can you leave it at check? So like,
there's me bivvy in the bush. It's at miles 27.
I'm gonna rephrase this because I'm like writing it now. But I meant like at checkpoints, because there are definitive checkpoints on the route. Do you not have like drop bags?
There is a drop bag. Yeah.
There is a drop bag.
Right. Yeah. So in those drop bags, you can have like a fresh pair of shoes, I imagine, and a fresh coat. Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah.
There is stuff that you can have in your drop bag.
Just to be clear.
Ben's not advising just to stash Mars bars all the way along the Pennine Way.
Extra sleeping bags. Yeah. But you've got to the kit list that they email through. You've got to have that on you at all times. So they check that off every time you leave a checkpoint. And then you've got your drop bag at the checkpoints that you can have extra stuff in. So one of the things. I had a really light sleeping bag that I was carrying, and then another sleeping bag in my drop bag, because at some of the YHAs obviously there's no bedding, but your light sleeping bag, it's a faff to then pack it back up in your bag. So when I go back again, I'll make sure that I've got a better sleeping bag in my drop bag, so that you've got some at checkpoints.
So I suppose a lot of that kit you're not getting out if you can help it.
You're
sort of keeping it.
Once it's in your pack, you want a spare one of everything,
That's
which is just more expensive. Like the race, I think this year the winter one's £1,400 maybe. But then you've got all the kit list on top of that. It's
expensive, isn't it?
It's
really
an expensive.
And it's not just carrying all that kit as well. I'm getting stressed thinking about it now, but actually packing it in the right way. Yeah. Because you've got to practice that, haven't you? Because you don't want to be putting something at the bottom of the pack that you need.
Digging in your back for
oh my God,
50 mile.
And then, I suppose head torches, torch batteries and all those sorts of things. Did you also practice running through the night as well?
Yeah, a couple of times I did, and I'd done like one of the crag runner ones, the Moors the Merrier, which is a very similar route to the Hebden. So I'd done that race, that's middle of December, and then run home from that afterwards. So like just doing that sort of thing, running, then waiting, having something to eat, and then setting off again to do that. And quite a lot in dark, which is easy in winter because it's dark at 4 o'clock,
it is actually,
so nearly all your training runs are in dark. Because that was first thing when I did my first overnight one. I found looking at your head torch light can feel a bit weird. It can make you feel a bit sick. It can, if you're not used to it.
Especially, there's a big difference, I think, like in winter conditions as well, when if it's snow or something, if you've had head torch on snow for a long time, that is so much different than if you're like running through the woods or all these different situations. So you're right,
and fog.
Exactly.
Fog
and bounce back.
Sometimes I've taken my head torch off and you do feel like like travel sickness, kind of like a bit disorientated, because you've just been, it's just a weird sensation for so long, And
that was one tip that somebody had said on one of the spine blogs, that they'd had a handheld torch as well, so that if it got really foggy, they'd turn the head torch off and they were just running with pointing at the ground with the handheld torch. So they're just little.
I suppose that goes back to what you're saying, like having that extra experience and kit that you might not necessarily be on the kit list, but you would take. In fact, was there anything that you took that wasn't on that kit list that was a really good thing to take? You know, like we've talked, I think somebody asked us that question on ChatGPT about what extra kit is really beneficial. Things like Vaseline and stuff like that. It might not be on the list, but you know you're going to chafe or you're going to rub or, you know, those kind of things. I don't know. Was there anything on your list?
Can't really think. Plenty of pairs of socks, the waterproof socks, the deck shells. They're absolutely brilliant.
Like a waterproof ones on the kit list? Because I always recommend basically those deck shell ones because through James, basically. Me and James Elson were always people that waterproof socks, no chance. Like I just want a pair of shoes that drain well. I don't want waterproof socks. And then when he first went to the spine, I remember having a conversation with him, he said, no, actually, it's not just they keep your feet warm as well, and now I've used that in my coaching for people in these winter races now as well. But I don't know if they're actually on the kit list or not.
I think they are. They are. Do you know what? I don't know.
No,
I know waterproof gloves are.
Yeah, I don't because I'm not 100% sure they are because I still have to tell people no, definitely go for deck shell or whatever. Get the knee high ones for that. So I'm not sure they are. So that's probably one that I would tell, even though I've not done it yet. But tell everyone to go down that route.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think most people that DNF would have not had those on because your feet are just getting battered. Because a lot of it's on the flags as well, so it's quite hard ground. So if you've got normal socks on, they're getting wet, and then on the hard slabs, people's feet were absolutely wrecked.
Yeah,
but definitely that. And loads of I use the triathlon lube sticks, you know, the Hube, I think it's called. That's what I use for my feet.
I see,
yeah. And well, just covering yourself with that, you get into an aid station. Poor volunteers on that race. You're like, will you just lube me? And you just have to stand there and they're just like putting it all.
Some people might enjoy that job though, might they?
They probably do, yeah. No wonder volunteer list gets higher.
That is a good tip though. Lube bars are always better, I find, than getting it out of a jar or a tube.
Yeah, the sticks. Those triathlon sticks are absolutely brilliant.
Sticks are great. I've got one that's like a big soap bar essentially, so it's like shoving a soap bar out your crack basically. But it's better than sticking fingers up your ass. Well, for most people anyway.
I never thought we'd be talking about lube in such detail on this podcast. Well, actually, no, I did.
It's important. It is really important because a lot of people, especially with having the packs on as well, it can make a real messy back.
Yeah.
So plenty of lube on your back as well.
Did you say that quote, Chris?
Yeah, noted.
Did you have any issues with like blistering and rubbing and things like that?
No, nothing at all.
Was that just because you practiced so much with the kit that you got?
Yeah, just tried all the kit. Obviously, I'd used the lube stick for ages, the deck shell socks. It's just that sort of thing, innit? You've got to go into it prepared. If you know you've got a kit that works and that's going to do the job, then you know you're going to be all right. But no, luckily, I saw some people with some horrendous feet, though, especially at the aid stations further on. They were taking the shoes off and they were absolutely bad. I don't know how they were continuing.
We've
some people.
spoke about feet before, but like I'm one of those people, I keep saying it, that I'm lucky that I don't struggle with my feet in these long races too much. Might get the odd hot spot or a little bit of a blister, but like you say, I've seen some people like feet with it looks like their skin's hanging off and all sorts, and I just don't know how they carry on. I don't know how they end up in those situations where you're going to keep doing those races if my feet end up like, because it debilitates you, doesn't it? That's going to be a race ender for a lot of people.
Yeah.
So it's either sort it or don't do that race, I would kind of be thinking. But
and that's one thing I'd say, if like for anyone that's doing spine, you've got to, that's a main priority. Any little hot spot that starts, you've got to sort your feet out. Away. Oh yeah, just you've got to get it sorted.
And with your job as well, do you get people pestering you all the time about that stuff? Or afterwards, do you get to see the people trying to see you because they've had problems and stuff?
With the feet?
Yeah. Like you can magically fix it or something like this.
Yeah, little wand.
Yeah,
there you go, sorted.
Were they asking you on the spine?
I didn't. I try not to tell people, but I had. So there were a lot of people that didn't have, even though there's quite a big medical kit that you need as well, like I think something like 15 metres of KT tape. And then you've got to have scalpels, you've got to have this fleecy web,
What's the KT tape for?
just for taping toes and
right, got you. Okay.
Yeah, just taping anywhere
worth.
that's 15 metres.
You've got 15 metres worth on you. You're in trouble, aren't you? Not going anywhere.
Just taped a wall. But a lot of people didn't have because I don't think they checked they didn't check the medical kit as part of the kit check, so a lot of people just didn't have a lot of the stuff. So a lot of aid stations that were handing out scalpels, I was like, oh yeah, I've got loads of them. So to help people out. But
it's weigh a ton, like carrying all this stuff. Like,
yeah, well, that's all in your drop bag. The medical kit. Yeah, you've got to have a medical certain amount of stuff that goes with you all the time, but the main stuff, the KT.
What did your hill bag weigh? Because everyone wants to get it down to a certain weight, don't they? Well. So what did yours weigh?
I didn't weigh it.
Didn't you?
No, I didn't weigh it because I just thought I can't.
That is what it is.
That is what it is, yeah. And what's people putting on Facebook group? Oh, has anyone got theirs down to this? But does that matter? Because if you can't buy the lighter kit, you've got to carry whatever you've got, haven't you? Yeah. And for me, because I'm so tight, I'd borrowed a lot of kit as well, so. Like, what, you either buy the lighter stuff or you're just happy that someone's lent you a 300 quid sleeping bag.
Plus, again, over the space of a week, a kilo of weight in your pack, it's neither here nor there, really. People get too hung up on it. I think it's, again, if you're at the sharp end of a race and you're trying to make it as light as possible because you're running more, maybe, but you've got, like Mel said, I think, if you've just got to get what's right for you and then get comfortable in training carrying that weight as much as you can, whether it's 7 kilo, 8 kilo or 10 kilo or whatever. And people are different shapes and sizes, aren't they? If you stick a 10 kilo pack on me, I'm going to know about it a lot more than like a 7, that kind of thing. But
yeah, that's the thing. People are putting in how much does your bag weigh, and it might be 7 kilos, but they might weigh 90 kilos.
You might be a 90 kilo guy or whatever.
So it's all relative.
It's all relative to and you just. If that's the kit you've got, then you've just got to carry it, haven't you? Yeah.
I guess it's a fine line getting good info or kind of getting caught up in those forums, and especially the spine one, beforehand with people's advice or stuff. Because even the people that I'm coaching, it's like they're kind of so-and-so's doing the X amount of miles or whatever, and it's just stay out with that forum for me.
Facebook groups and WhatsApp groups for the races.
You stay away
avoid,
from
them.
Your mind can go into overdrive, can't it? It's when you try and diagnose yourself and you get on the NHS and you think you've got all sorts going on, don't you? Your mind can just go, take
I've seen some belters in that Facebook group though. There was I remember one testing full waterproofs, testing it in the shower at home.
Do you do that, Mel? Do you try that?
I didn't, but maybe I should just for next time.
Just stood in the shower. So.
In your waterproofs.
Yeah, I'm sure between the summer and January there'll be an opportunity to test your kit properly in the rain in the UK. You don't have to put that picture up there.
Talk me through the race, though, because when you stood on that start line, you're gonna be out for the best part of what, 5-6 days?
Well, we just don't know, do you? You don't know how long it's gonna take.
So, like, do you just? And I asked this question to Holly the other week about the speed project. You just have to chunk it, and are you just always thinking about the next checkpoint or 10 miles away?
The next food.
The next food, that's what I've been thinking about. Is it? Yeah, when are you going to eat?
Temptation for me, because obviously the first bit's the home bit, is that you set off too fast. Because you just think, oh, I'm only going to it, because normally I'm going a little loop and then down to calf, so it's quite hard to make sure you go slower for that. But I don't know. It's really weird. It's a really weird race because I don't even think you can go checkpoint to checkpoint. You can't think
too far away.
Yeah,
you certainly can't think about the finish early on, can you? Because you just don't know what's going to happen. But so you just I suppose you're just thinking of that little section, and the next time you're going to have something decent to eat, or
you know where there's a triathlon club in Lothersdale that have a little stand, so you just think, I'll just get to there and then see how I feel. And then there's like a little tuck shop at Gargrave, so you just get into those little bits really, rather than the next aid station, because it's just too big. If you think about that, you just your head would go so early on.
Were you thinking about just doing it for the experience, or were you thinking about racing it as well? And the reason I asked that is because you are a very accomplished runner, and you've won races, you're high performing. We've not really talked about that because I went straight into the brain surgery question.
Just went for brain.
But like, were you at any point like racing it and thinking, right, I need to stay with her, or I need to make a move there, or were you just, I'm out to survive and do this?
Yeah, out to survive for that one. Yeah.
And anything else is a bonus then, I suppose, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The women's race was particularly strong this year, wasn't it? But
unbelievable, wasn't it?
It was great. It was great to watch, but I also, from just being a fan more than anything, like a lot of you know each other as well. So is it good being out there knowing, and you might not necessarily be running with each other all the time, but knowing that you're all kind of pushing each other on and you all know each other, and it's still competitive, isn't it? You're all competitive people, but like you say, it's so long, you don't really know what everyone else is up to a certain degree.
Oh no, you've no idea, because you've got 3 pair of gloves on most at time as well, so you're just not looking.
Yeah.
And it's so, like, sometimes 24 hours between a checkpoint before you see another person, because you're on your own for a lot of it. So you just literally don't know how other people are doing, and then when you get to a checkpoint, I always say, "Oh, how are girls getting on?" And they'll say, "Oh, so and so's," but then that changes next one you go to. But I just don't think you can think about where other people are in that event, because you're going as fast as you can go.
Got to do your own race.
You've just got to do your own race, yeah. So it's quite good that, one, that there's not a lot of phone signal, and 2, you've got that many pair of gloves on. You can't check out anyway, because you've just got to...
At least in this race, no one can get in the car and beat you to the...
No, they can't, no.
We'll come on to that, actually, won't we? We'll save that one for the end. There's a story there. The one thing that I really liked, I think it's the first time I did it this year, is that people that were watching, because we all dot watch, like literally it's the sport now, it's a national sport now, is dot watching. Yeah. It's really taken off. I love it. But you could send a message to the people that were racing. I mean, you wouldn't have read the messages at first.
No.
I put one on for you. But when you'd finished the race, you got a printout of all your times or whatever, and the messages were all there. I mean,
oh yeah,
because your story, you wouldn't have known this, but your story, and people found out about you having brain surgery, it really blew up. Like you, because I always think of you as the people's champion. I've said that even before this. Like, I always like to see you do well, because I just think you're a no nonsense runner. You're not interested in sponsorship deals. You don't do all that fancy shit. You just want to run because you love running. And we'll talk about that as well a bit more later. But you wouldn't have had a clue that all this was going on, because the media picked it up. The BBC, I think, also picked up this story as well, didn't they? And it was going
and I
off.
didn't know, because I think they'd posted that the race had already set off when the BBC article came out online. So I didn't know anything about that. Leeds Hospital had contacted me, so a lad I'd done a couple of recce's with, he works at Leeds Hospital as a consultant, so he'd got in touch with their media team saying, look, this lass had brain surgery at our hospital, and now she's going to attempt the spine. I think it needs to be out there that this is, like, it's a good story, and it is a positive story. And so Leeds Hospital had contacted me, and then their media team must have put out a press release, and then it's just whoever picks it up. But I didn't realise once the race had started that the BBC had picked it up. So I would just going, obviously you're not looking at your phone, you're not looking at your messages. No. Didn't know anything. And
the messages, there were so many. I mean, Kim Collinson, rightly so, would have got a lot, and the people that did really well in the race, but I reckon you must have got the most, because people do love what you're doing and they are inspired by what you're doing, but you'll have had no clue. Were there any paparazzi out on the course? Were there any, like, having a shit in a bush and there's a camera pops up and takes a picture on the back page of the Sun?
I don't know how embarrassing that would have been if someone had gone.
Not just a brain has fallen out.
Big headline.
I'll save that one for the YouTube hook.
Subscriber content, that one. But no, you literally don't know what's going on when you're
just
doing
detached
that
from
race.
The real world, aren't you?
It's really weird, yeah.
Is it in a way quite nice as well?
It is. It's absolutely brilliant. I don't think I've ever had like 5 days when I looked at my phone, because we don't, do we?
No,
you just
we don't.
No, you just
Closest
don't.
I've had is like Dragon's Back and stuff, and it's the first time I did it was a 5-day Dragon's Back, and then the second time was the 6-day. Now in the 5-day, it was the old pure experience pretty much, no phone signal and all this stuff, and you kind of finish and then you have to adjust again because you haven't got anything to worry about other than basically eating, running, getting yourself from A to B, and no life stresses or whatever. And then the second time I did it, it was 6 days, when it finishes in Cardiff, and it was brilliant and it was longer and everything, but because it had been a couple of years later, then they kind of now you can charge your phone in the night, and there seemed to be more signal. So I don't know whether that was because the race had put up whatever, but you could get phone signal and stuff like this. So you could have communication if you wanted. And I remember thinking, it's not quite the same. It's like, again, after a couple of days, you're not even looking at your phone anyway. But you're right. You have 5 or 6 days, and it was. I've got to think for myself again. I've got to actually wash my clothes and stuff like this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's weird. You do have to adjust, don't you? Mm. Yeah.
Was it weird after you'd finished and you were back with your phone in hand and you're back to normality? Did it hit you, like, when you got to finish and you printed off and saw all these messages? Did you realise then, like, what you'd achieved? Because, by the way, I've not even said where you finished in the race, which I know wasn't as important as the finishing itself, but you were 6th overall in the race, weren't you? Which is an amazing achievement, and just the fact that you finished it.
Yeah.
But when did it sort of hit you, and like this wave of like media attention was on what you were trying to do? Like, it
wasn't until a few days. I think when you finish, you're just so exhausted. You're like just completely goosed out after something like that, because you just drained. And then I went on holiday, which were a bonus. And it wasn't until then, like a few days later, I was laid by pool and I was looking at all these, because people were sending me stuff that I'd been tagged in, because like on Instagram people tag you in stuff, but it goes after 24 hours or something. So I didn't actually see any of that because they were doing it during race, and then it's gone by the time you finish.
It's weird, that, isn't it?
Yeah. So it wasn't until like people sending me different articles through like the week after, and I was like, oh God, even these have written something about it, which...
I couldn't believe it, could you?
No, really weird. Yeah, because it's weird. I think sometimes as well, like for the dot watchers, they're more invested when you're doing the event. You're just doing it, aren't you? You're just loving life. You're thinking, oh, this is ace. I'm on Pennine Way. I'm doing the spine.
How did you feel about it? Because I found a bit of a shift. Once I'd had a year out and I'd had this nerve injury and stuff like this, a lot of people wanted to speak to me about that and come back from that more than before, because it hadn't happened, but more than the running side of things. And whereas me, I'm trying to not speak about it, to be honest, and I'm trying not to even draw attention to it as much if I could. But I was also aware that I needed to speak about it because it was helping people. I got loads of messages saying that, and doing the podcast with Ben was probably the biggest thing I did in terms of just talking through from start to finish everything. And then I tried to leave it, but it does just keep cropping up, doesn't it? Because people want to, like we've done it to you today. He's gone straight in there.
I knew we'd be going on for 3 hours if I didn't go straight in. That's why.
So what I'm trying to say is, do you mind still talking about it?
Oh no, I don't mind at all. No, I don't mind.
No, that's good then.
Like just after the race, in sort of the weeks after, there were quite a lot of messages saying, "Oh, will you do it? Like, speak to us about this." So that got a little bit, because I just felt I was repeating the same. There's so many times you can say, "Well, my brain fell out and then I've run spine." Like that's it, isn't it? Really,
it is,
without going into too much detail. But even places like Take a Break magazine, they were like pestering for story. But you don't mind with running related things because they're interested in the comeback from the running, and that's what I wanted to talk about. Whereas Take a Break were interested in like making this story that it wasn't really what it was, because they're trying to do it for a different agenda.
Sometimes you wonder what the angle is when it's like, why do you want to speak to me, kind of thing.
So we're a bit careful really with talking about it in that way.
And plus, because like Ben's touched on, like you're not like me trying to grow stuff and things like this. You're just you being a runner, and then all of a sudden you've got all this attention. And it's, I can imagine it's quite overwhelming at first, especially when you're so tired and things.
That's the thing, you're trying to get through, because you've had
trying to recover from a race.
6 days of catching up with, like, your friends have been messaging, and you want to sort of reply to them first, don't you? The people.
Yeah, you've got to prioritise that.
You've got to prioritise that.
And you do feel bad when you see, because I've had it in the past where you look and people have genuinely sent you messages that you've genuinely missed. Instagram works so weird these days. There's there's different inboxes and all sorts, and messages disappear, and then sometimes I'll say, I did message you, and I'm sorry, but you do missed so much, and you feel bad, so then you try and reply to everything, and then that's not always good either. It's a bit draining, I imagine, for doing something so crazy like the spine, plus your story, plus not knowing what was coming after you'd finished.
Yeah.
Probably doesn't happen that often.
No, and you're completely knackered and you just want to go on holiday.
Plus, when you haven't asked for that attention, unlike me and Ben, we're asking for it all the time. I'm always interested how people deal with it, to be honest. Yeah.
I will say as well, Mel is so unique in the sense that, and because we've known each other for a long time now, and even pre-brain surgery and pre-spine, I've always said, Mel, I've got this opportunity to do this with work, or I'm going to send you this kit, and sometimes you knock me back, like she'll say, no, I'm not bothered about that pair of trainers, or I'm not bothered about that, whereas most people bite my hands off, but Mel refuses to do what you call it, wanky content, don't you? I'm not doing any wanky content, and I absolutely love that, because she's just like...
you call me?
Gary, you're the first person I've asked. Will you review these? But you've always been somebody who stayed true to the self and your values, and you've never really bought into that whole side of social media, have you? And I know for a fact as well, pre and post spine, you've had a lot of brands wanting you to be an athlete for them, an ambassador, wanting to give you a load of kit, and like, let me be straight as well, some of these deals are incredible, and you've just been like, do you know what? I'm not bothered.
Bothered.
It is so refreshing in this day and age for somebody in your position to be knocking these big brands back, because you just want to do it for the running, don't you? Genuinely, yeah. So you're not somebody who wants to. You don't strive for the limelight. You're not bothered about having the latest kit. I mean, we talked how expensive this spine kit is. A brand would pay for all that fit, and you've already had all that offered, and you've said no. And I think it's nice to talk about.
What about bikes? If bikes started knocking on the door,
take a bike. Anyone?
That might be slightly different, mightn't it? But no, it's refreshing, isn't it? Because it's true, isn't it? And I really like that, and I think it's something I wanted to mention, because it's rare these days that somebody in your position is like that. It's good. Yeah, it's back to basics, isn't it? That's how you want.
Ben, what are you saying? That Gary could learn a lot from Mel?
I could learn a lot from Mel.
Instead of taking all freebies.
But I mean, it's part of our jobs. We've spoken about this, but me and Gary are in that industry, and that is our livelihood. I know you've got so we have to be part of it, but you've chosen not to be part of it for when you could make your life a lot easier in that sense, couldn't you? But you're not
save
about
a lot
that.
Of money.
Save a lot of money, but you're not about that side of things.
The problem is, though, you will save money, but it's especially when you've got a successful career and you're doing the running because maybe that's an outlet and you enjoy it. What you don't want is the pressure of making content, or even if a brand will always say
no pressure.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there is, as soon as you start taking that stuff, of course there's pressure. It's a transaction, and it has to work for both people. So you're 100% right in doing what you're doing, I think, because going from taking the odd pair of socks for free when I was growing to, like you say, turning down bigger deals for stuff that just don't suit you. You've got it. There will always be pressure if you start doing that, and there might be a time where you think, well, that's a good time to do it or whatever. But you're 100% right, I think. Yeah.
I think it depends if, like I say, if running's your thing and that's what you're trying to promote.
Yeah, exactly.
But running for me is something to do outside of work.
Exactly, if that's the outlet, you don't want that pressure, do you?
And then if there's pressure on what you do to wind down and relax, then you've got no, like, I've got quite a stressful job some days. Yeah, obviously trying to save people's limbs and toes from falling off or getting chopped off. So you get home from work and you're running, you switch off. If I'm going out on a run after work thinking, I need to take this photo in this kit and upload this reel, and I'm not that good at that anyway, like doing the social media thing. But then there's no switch off then, is there? When do you switch off from it? So yeah, that's why. I
totally get that.
Yeah, and I also think with brands, they want, obviously, if they're throwing a load of kit at you, they want you in their kit. But from doing the spine, there's no one brand that does
you need
everything.
that freedom of choice, don't
yeah,
you?
you need to be able to. I wore the Innovate shoes and like the Ron Hill jacket, and it's like different stuff for different things, isn't it?
Even the sponsored ones do that. I've seen it.
What, wear different brands? Just put a bit of tape over it.
They've got it. Yeah. The brands can't give them enough kit for the spine, I don't think.
No, that's true.
No.
You've got to have lots of different bits of kit, and I think just stick the brand's coat on top of it, I think.
So label on.
That's mainly how it works.
Yeah.
But it is more authentic what you're doing as well, isn't it? Because like you are choosing the right kit, the best kit for you. I suppose actually people want to look at what you're wearing next year, and that's probably going to be the best kit, isn't it?
Yeah, because I'll like fished out everything that didn't work.
Yeah, it's true, isn't it? Yeah.
Although, do you know what? Out of all the kit that I wore for the spine in Jam this year, I'll wear the same because nothing went wrong. Touch wood. Nothing.
You know it works, don't you?
Yeah, everything worked. Everything worked really well. So I'll stick with that side of it. Just get a bit of a better sleeping mat in case I have to lay on the toilet floor again.
One that probably smells a bit nicer now as well.
Yeah, what you were saying, well, it'll stink by then. Absolutely stink by then.
I mean, I know I've jumped all over the place with these questions, but just going back to being in the spine now, there must have been some real low points because over the course of the spine, what did it take you in then? Was it sort of 5-6 days?
132 hours. So I finished Friday evening.
So it's about 6 days.
When did we start?
So it's 5 or 6
Sunday.
at Sunday, 5 or 6, yeah. So there must have been some real highs and lows. Like, just talk to us about that. What were the highs first of all?
Do you know what? Nearly all of it went high.
Were you buzzing?
Yeah. Even when I was curled up in a ball in Horton toilets on floor, because that's what you sign up to do. Like, I knew I had the kit to do it. Like, I knew where I had to get to at certain points. So there wasn't really any. I cried going over Crossfell, but not in a. Like,
was it like just emotional? Was it emotional?
Yeah, I think it was just overtiredness.
Yeah,
but the sun were out. It were absolutely ace.
It's pure simplicity as well, isn't it? Going back to what we were saying, there's no phone in your hand. You're on your own. You're in the elements. It's like almost primal, isn't it? You know, you're out there for that length of time.
And that's what you want to do. That's what you've
experience.
trained. Yeah, that's the experience. So, obviously, the first 2 days when the weather wasn't great, but there were no real low points because I thought, well, that's why I'm doing the winter spine, because if I didn't want these shit conditions, I'd have done summer one, although it's rained when I've done summer one as well. But that's part of it. That's the challenge of doing it, innit? And doing these longer events.
I suppose as well, and going through everything that you've been through those last 14 months as well, you're probably just so relieved to be back out there doing it, weren't you? And feeling like, you know, lucky as well, because like it could have worked out differently, couldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
But being able to get that opportunity to go and do what you love and experience that, that's a really interesting.
Yeah, so even the bits where it wasn't as good as the rest of it, there were no bits where I ever thought, oh God, what am I doing here? Because it was just...
Sometimes you look at yourselves in those situations and you think, well, I've put myself here, but even, like you say, lying in the piss and the toilet floor in the sleeping bag, you can almost enjoy that fact, because what situation would you be in when you put yourself into that? It's only to get to that finish line or whatever. And it's, I know what you're saying, you can kind of slightly take enjoyment even out of that situation, which sounds ridiculous.
Yeah. But you're like, yes, I'm in it. I'm doing this. I'm in this race I've nipped up to Pennine Way to see him obviously come past Wesey, which is what, 1.5 miles from home, for years and years, been up and stood there and thought, look at these crazy bastards. Like, I never do all like that. And then you're in it and you're doing it, and it's just, you're just lucky. You're lucky to be able to do it, aren't you? Because there's a lot of people that can't do out like that. And even to get into the event now these days is lucky.
Plus
to
you have to do it again and again to justify the expense on the kit. I think
that's
why people keep going back.
Every time you do it,
can't do it
better
once,
value.
Can you?
So you're definitely doing it again. It's giving you a taste for it.
It has. I think maybe, although some people have done it loads of times, haven't they? But twice. I think one time because you need to be able to learn. Like, I panicked in the build-up about charging my head torch, charging my watch, all that sort of stuff, and I didn't really need to because I bought 5. I use the is it called lead lenser? Lead lenser. But I bought 6 batteries for that, so I knew in the end I didn't even need to. I had a spare battery in my pack for the amount of time it were dark, and I spent probably a month stressing about what I'm going to do with my head torch, and it just didn't. Same with my watch. I knew I didn't have it on for time or pace or heart rate or anything. Just had the map on
basics,
it. Yeah, and I'd recce all of it, so we're quite confident with the nav. So my watch ran out of battery, and it didn't really matter because I knew where I was going.
Did that mean because it ran out of battery that you didn't get the Strava map at the end? Or...
So the Strava map is downloaded off Open Tracking. So that's
perfect.
why it says, even though the distance is, I think the distance is out a little bit on the Strava map, and it says like 4,000 feet of elevation, which is obviously not that.
Did you do another Strava manually and like tell your followers that you
full story?
The full story. Yeah. Did you need to justify like I actually ran this and this distance? Did you put it in manual afterwards? Yeah.
The pace isn't right, and then I went this way. Yeah.
I would have obviously done that.
Yeah, of course you would. Yeah.
Strava wanker
that one. Yeah.
Just a bit of a plug for a previous podcast there. I was thinking, we had Nigel on recently, didn't we? Who talked about the chimp paradox and the mindset of preparing for races and how you help Gary. I mean, that would be really useful for Mel, wouldn't it, to almost unpick some of the worries that you had from doing it first time around and work out how you can get through that for the second. If you haven't heard that podcast, that's one of the most recent episodes.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'll listen to that.
Good learnings for next year when you do it again.
100%.
Yeah.
Will you go in next year with the sole kind of focused to knock a good chunk of time off?
I'd like to, but you just never know what's gonna.
Yeah, I know conditions can play such a massive part on that, but I always think when everyone goes back to these things, that has to be one of the main goals, I guess, doesn't it? Yeah, unless there's a complete curveball, then I think that's the exciting thing as well, I guess. Yeah, because you'll see different parts of the course at different times of day and things like this, hopefully. Yeah,
and this last time I was looking, like some of those aid stations, I were in aid station for 6 hours for 90 minutes sleep. I mean, I can talk. So most of the time, and because I'd volunteered on Spine before, at each checkpoint there was someone I knew either that had run it before. Okay. So I would just sat there yapping away. So I can probably save 2 hours at each checkpoint.
Just by not talking as much.
By keeping my gob shut, for a little bit, which is hard work. And in the first bit, they were... On the first section between Edale and Ebden Bridge, there's about 4 mountain rescue aid stations. I had a cup of tea, biscuits, sat chatting at every one of them because obviously it's local people from our local mountain rescues. So it's just stuff like that. Not really.
There's your Strava title then. So it needs to be like chatting shit adjusted time.
I reckon if I
it was actually 100 hours, but I was just talking.
Could have won it, but
32 hours of talking shit and eating biscuits.
It'd be funny to look at like elapsed time. Obviously, I didn't have the
chat time,
official, the official Strava file. But if I looked at my elapsed time and moving time, Strava wankers.
Yeah. Chat adjusted pace, your cap time,
the amount of talking I did. So I think even just if I'm more efficient in the checkpoints, and that'd be one thing, like you were saying with your athletes, you just have to be it's so easy to go in and go, like yap, and then before you know it, 6 hours have gone, you've had an hour and a half sleep, and you think, I could have been out of here like 2 hours ago, which it doesn't matter when you're doing it to complete. Like you're doing it for the first time, the only goal is getting to the finish, isn't it? But now I know that I'll probably only be able to sleep for 90 minutes because you just wake up naturally after that.
Yeah.
Or I seem to do. Yeah. I can probably save.
I'm not sure the Spine's for me. I think I'd still be in that first checkpoint, wouldn't I? Still
Ebden Bridge.
Yeah. We'd have a 10-part DNF from you.
Yeah, you'd have it. So I'd probably stretch out to 20. 10 posts for every day.
But you could. I wrote a bit of a blog about the race afterwards, but you can put little bits into it, but something like that over 5 days, it'd be a novel, it'd be a full novel, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
That's why those adventures are more for yourself, aren't they?
Of course they are,
If you spent a day on the trail with someone and you shared that, but it's for yourself, because you, like you say, you can write the most amazing blog and it still won't get across what you kind of took from it. So you've got to get in it those things for the right reasons from the start, and that's why a lot of people fail as well, I think, because they're in it for, maybe they realise it, maybe they don't, but they get hyped up by all the coverage and stuff and they jump in it, but will they actually enjoy that 5-6 days of solitude in that horrible weather, or are they in it for the Instagram post? And that's a bit extreme, but
But some are though. That's why some people are doing it, aren't they, to do that. And I think as well time goals, because what happened this year, a lot of people that have done the spine a lot of years before, the first 2 days was so bloody slow because it was so snowy that they were getting to Hawes maybe 15 hours later than what they'd done previously, and they just thought, I fucked it. So they dropped out. Whereas
mentally, it messes with your head, doesn't it?
Messes with your head. Whereas after Hawes, it was lovely weather.
Okay.
So they could have carried on. You'd still getting a finish under your belt. Maybe it won't have been a time that you wanted or a quicker time, but that's part of
getting a spine finish is just massive, though, isn't it? Like the
like
time
the
should be
finish, isn't it? We were
saying. The spine should be irrelevant unless you are looking to push it. Unless you've done a couple or you're trying to beat yourself. Your first spine or even second spine, ridiculously, is just you're looking to collect that finish, aren't you, for yourself?
Yeah, and do you know what? No one asks you. Like when you say to people, "Oh, you've done the spine," no one says, "Oh, what time? What position were you? What time did you do?" They're just like, "Bloody hell, well done."
Yeah, it's a badge of honour in itself finishing.
Yeah, of course
it
is.
It's enough.
It doesn't matter, does it?
I love a linear route, not quite as long as that because I've never done anything that length, but I like exploring new places, and I'm always interested to see like different parts of the country. Which part of the Pennine Way, apart from our bit, obviously, was your favourite? Was there a section where you thought, this is nice?
Adrian's Wall.
Was it? Was it good?
Absolutely, yeah. But that might have been to do with weather as well, and I'd spent the day before that crying all day.
Yeah.
So I felt good by then, and it's kind of like you've got the certain points of the race in your head that you know, right, I'm here now, and you feel like you're going north, and then obviously you go on Hadrian's Wall, and then when you turn off it, you like that almost feels like the last section then, because you've turned off the wall to go.
Yeah, so it's like a milestone, almost like a mental milestone.
Mentally, you're like, right, I'm off the wall. Yeah. I'm going north again. So that bit, but obviously round by where I live.
Yeah, we've got to be.
Best bit,
Crowden, we've got to be biased somewhere.
Yeah, Crowden to Ebden Bridge probably is my favourite bit.
There's something nice about running on your home trails as well. Like you feel a bit more safe and secure, don't you? And I say that because running at night on your own as well, and it's a lonely race as a spine, even though there's a lot of people doing it. You need that confidence, don't you? Because I hate running on my own on the moors, like just in the dark.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, I get a bit scared, but that doesn't phase you.
No, I love it.
That's why I take the dogs with me. Yeah. Don't know why, because they wouldn't do anything either.
Say, what are they gonna do?
Just buy me a few more seconds, wouldn't they, while I escape?
Oh no, I love that. But I think that's one thing you've got to get used to if you're going to do spine. There's a lot of time on your own, but that's almost part of it as well. Like you do it to, and sometimes it's hard. You've got to be a bit selfish, and if someone is trying to tag along either for the nav or whatever for the company because they want the company, you've got to be a little bit selfish and say, look, I'm going to crack on, or you have a little tactical pee so that they go in front, and then you've got to do stuff like that.
I'm just going to pack my bag a little bit.
Or stop at this cafe or whatever just to try and. So I had to do that a little bit when you were with someone, because you want to do it on your own. That's what you do it for. That's part of doing that race. You want to run with other people, you can do like London Marathon or whatever, can't you? And have people around you. But
did you? I mean, you'll have spent a lot of time in your own thoughts, I would imagine, but did you listen to music? Did you listen to podcasts? I mean, I can recommend a good one if you need the future, but did you listen to anything?
The day, weirdly, so I downloaded hours and hours of podcasts and music.
RUNcensored podcast,
yeah. RUNcensored, and put maybe 15 hours of music, spent ages putting a playlist together, and I only listened to it Dufton, over Crossfell, that were it. Listened to music that day when I were crying.
Yeah.
Just to have something on. But yeah, for a lot of the rest of it I didn't have out on.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
you can be overstimulated in a race like that, can't you? You kind of don't, like I've said to you, when I'm out training and stuff, I'll always have something on, a podcast or music. But when I race, I don't think I've ever had it on. It's really weird. Just quite happy without it, to be honest. But I always have it downloaded and stuff just in case, but don't seem to use it. Yeah.
My next question's about spine community. They always talk about a spine family, don't they?
Yeah.
Do you feel like there's a spine family when you're doing it? I know it sounds really cheesy, that, doesn't it? But the reason I ask is because you're really good friends now with a lot of the other people that were doing the race, especially like Robin and a lot of the girls who you're racing against. Like, do you feel like that because you've done an experience together and you've obviously been out on the trail and not suffered together literally because you weren't running together, but you've done something same, haven't you? You know what I mean?
And you're always like in that sort of thing. You're just wanting everybody to get to finish. Like you're not bothered for your position. Some people might do it to race it because some people are a lot more competitive than others out there. But yeah, you're just wanting everyone to get to finish. And even in that race, like Lucy and Robin ran together for quite a lot of it, but not in a competitive way. They were just both trying to get each other to finish, really, until Lucy then stormed off, which unbelievable. But yeah, it's all part of the same thing. But the spine race as a whole is, I suppose some people would call it a cult. But there is with a lot of stuff like that, obviously, park run, any event, people want to be a part of something, don't they? They want to feel like they're a part of something.
And even if you're not racing, you might be like you've helped out in the past, haven't you? So you were already a part of that, weren't you? So do you feel like it is a bit of a community?
Absolutely.
Whatever you want to call it, but yeah,
it is, definitely. And the good thing with the spine, a lot of people, they want to be a part of it, but they know they'd never be able to do that sort of event. So even their volunteer has a wait list. Their volunteer list has there's a long wait list. You have to apply to volunteer.
That's to apply the lube, isn't it? That's what it is. People want to. I'm on that waiting list.
You can put your name down.
They won't let me in.
It's applied again.
Ben's on Jacob's ladder, just set himself up, just a mile in. I'm here.
I've got my lube guns ready to go. Yeah, just a pack full of lube tubes.
I'm not volunteering, but I'm here. Just hanging about on the course.
Lube anybody?
But yeah, a lot of people.
You could crew the crew.
I could crew the crew, yeah. I mean, I'm not bothered when I'm putting lube on. Like, I'm not fussy,
But yeah, a lot of people, there's a big wait list to volunteer because it's just such a good thing to be a part of, and they like helping the athletes trying to get to end. And everyone's there just to try and get people to finish out there.
Yeah. And I think it's a good example of a race where everybody wants everybody to do well. There's no real rivalry, is there? I mean, some people want to win. Kim obviously really wanted to win. Yeah. Damien, when he doesn't really want to win. Lucy, I'm sure, really wanted to win. But there is that sense of like you're in it together, aren't you?
And that's where trail running differs a lot of the time from like road racing, doesn't it? It's less competitive, and I think that's why a lot more people are getting into trail running and longer distance racing, because it's trying to get everyone or as many people as you can to finish and be a bit more supportive than elbowing people out at Wayround Park on a Saturday.
So true. And that's just teeing me up nicely for another question, because it's not about the spine, but I just want to rewind about 2 years ago, I think, and you did another event where you finished fourth, but you actually finished third because the runner in front, you got bumped up because the runner in front actually did something a little bit disrespectful to trail running in general, didn't she? So I can't quite remember her name. Joe Zarkowski. I've probably pronounced that really badly.
That'll do.
Sorry, Joe. Like, I had to mention it, but she got a lift at the end of an ultra race, didn't she, for a small portion, but then took the prize for third, and you got pushed to fourth then. And she's just talk to us about that whole situation.
Well,
if you don't mind.
That was another thing, we were saying about the pressure, like writing for the spine. They made a massive deal out of that I was really upset that I'd been bumped down. And I think some articles said something like, I missed out on the medal ceremony like it were bloody Olympics or something. When really we were just laughing at it, because it's just how daft it was, really.
And I wanted to mention to put it in perspective.
And I didn't know Mel then personally, but I remember reading, going to find your tweet because you'd basically said it as what had happened. And like you say, from my point of view, it was like, well, she's finished fourth. She's just told everyone what actually happened. It's not like it didn't really look like sour grapes or anything.
No, it wasn't.
It was just
funny.
And it was interesting. And that, because I had a couple of people in the race, and then it was obvious. And then when you even 5 minutes of research, it was obvious what had happened, and you could see in the pictures of the podium and stuff like this. And it was like, well, Mel's well within her rights to say exactly what happened, whether it was that race that maybe Mel wasn't. I don't know. Maybe Mel wasn't like seeing it as the biggest race in the world or whatever. But you're still within your rights to say what happened. It's not. It wasn't sour grapes.
And do you know what? It would have been the same if I'd have been 20th and she'd have been 19th.
Exactly. Like, because I heard that argument as well. It was. Yeah, it wasn't for the win, or it was way behind the winner and stuff like this. Like, it doesn't. It's the point that what had happened. It's not on you to justify what you've said, because that's what I thought. I read some comments like that as well. It's almost like, oh God, like you'd thrown your toys out of the pram or whatever.
Which I am.
Not at all. Like no one running, and I was like, what are they on about? It's like that girl's just blatantly cheated, basically. By mistake or whatever, and then took what she did.
Oh yeah. And it'd have been, like I say, it would have been the same whether it had been 90th and 20th or 25th and 26th.
And it does happen further down and stuff.
Of course it does.
Not to that. There's not many people doing it so blatantly, kind of thing. But yeah, it does happen.
It wasn't to do with the position. It would just more the principle.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's a supportive environment doing these races, and everyone's. And just to do something like that's just a little bit. It's just a little bit shitty, isn't it?
I think so. When you're all out, and you're all trying your hardest over that distance, I think it's really disrespectful.
If I've got this straight, didn't feel too good at a checkpoint. Got in the car, went to the finish. Didn't realise.
Well, it would between 30. It's mostly on the Transpennine Trail and Manchester Ship Canal, and there's about maybe 2.5 mile where you run on a road through hail, and then to the checkpoint that's at 40 miles. So she'd got in the car at 37 miles, where you join the road, got a lift to the checkpoint at 40 miles, then got out there, told them, she said she told them she was pulling out, and then she said she carried on non-competitively for the last 10 miles because they said, like, you can either wait here and get a lift at finish, or you might, it's 10 miles, you might as well just run. So she says she then carried on non-competitively out of the race, but then went through the finish funnel, took the...
It's the fact that she took the prize that I just can't get my head around.
Yeah.
That's the bit for me.
I get.
But she was celebrating and stuff. She said it was non-competitively and stuff, but she celebrated at the finish.
Yeah, and then it wasn't until
Mel won't say it, but it was obvious.
I'd been pissed off. I was pissed off on you, Mel. Yeah, I was. I just thought I just couldn't believe that somebody could do that.
And then it was I think a week later, the race director had emailed her to say, look, this is what people are saying, this is what we think happened. And then she came back and said, oh yeah, I did do that. But at no time in that week after the race did she email Wayne and say,
made a mistake.
Yeah, you've made a mistake, I should have given this back. Or even, all right, you crossed the line, you don't want to say, oh no. Yeah. So you take the prize in.
You've got plenty of time.
Yeah, you can go up to the race director.
The prize given isn't within 30 seconds of your finishing.
No. And Wayne, the race director, he's always hanging about at the finish because he stands there cheering people in. So if they'd have passed it, she could have then gone and had, I don't know, a drink and then gone back and say, oh, Wayne, like this happened, I'll just give you this back, the next girl coming in's. But I think that was more the point that
And when you finished, in your head, were you fourth then?
Yeah.
Because you didn't know what had happened.
No, I didn't know what had happened.
She didn't know you were technically third.
No, I didn't know. It wasn't until about 3 days after the race that I got an I got an Instagram message from the girl that had come in second. Yeah. And she messaged me and she said, oh, I think this has happened. And then the race director looked at the tracker and he was like, oh yeah, 48 mile an hour.
It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah. And then the tracker, obviously, but she'd left the run on Strava as well, where obviously you can see the speed and low heart rate, no cadence, but 45 mile an hour.
She's probably got a few CRs as well on that section.
Yeah, it must have done. So it wasn't she hadn't tried to hide anything in that way. She'd left all the
it's madness, isn't it? Yeah, because and a competitive runner herself and stuff, and it's
somebody so experienced.
What I felt bad about that is like I'm assuming, I'm hoping it's, but like then you have. She was having like other results getting called into question and stuff. Which was madness as well. It all got a bit. I remember watching it thinking, God, it's so crazy. It should have just been done and dusted. It's like she should just nip it in the bud because Wayne, that organiser, had to do a proper investigation and stuff and come to a. And it's a big thing that for a race organiser to have to go.
Stressful.
Go and do that because you have to get it right and for both parties and stuff like this. So
you can't go accusing someone without. Like knowing that that's what's happened.
And good on, I don't know him either, but good on him for following it through and to the conclusion as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but like you say, she had other records and that she'd broken, and people are saying, "Oh, well, what about this?" Yeah. So I'm like, "Well, it was one of her records was round the track." Like I'm sure people would have seen.
She's not going to get away with getting a lift on that, is she?
No, exactly.
You wouldn't think anyway. Yeah.
But
it's a real shame because
such a
talented
free socks or whatever it was for third.
A bottle of wine.
I think she
£5 Pete Lamb voucher.
Yes. She posted the trophy back and then they posted it out to me. So I did.
Had you put a name on it as well? Did you have to get it removed? Like you have a tattoo removal? She had a trophy name removal.
Sanding it out.
Just crossed it out and put yours in.
No, but it was just one of those things. Like you almost wish that it wasn't me that had finished in fourth because I'm like, oh gosh.
For somebody who doesn't like to be in the headlines, you just found yourself in these weird positions where you have been, haven't you?
I know, and my Facebook Messenger is still, there's loads of messages on there from like papers and stuff like that. You know, the reporters, "Oh Mel, we just want your side of this." And I just didn't reply to any of them. I'd put the tweet out of what had happened, and that's the way it was. I didn't want all these other people.
Who'd have thought you'd have become the most famous Mel Sykes? You know, it was always about the Bodingtons Mel Sykes, wasn't it? Now it's about the running Mel Sykes.
Yeah, now I'm number one Mel Sykes.
Yeah, exactly. You are number one now. Let's finish on a positive because
that was a positive.
No, well, for Mel, but for Mel, I mean, it's a sad story, isn't it? That one, but the photography from the Spine, I think, has just gone up to like another level now. There's so many talented photographers going out there. Rich Gill, our mate, being one of them. Andrew Hendry, another. Yeah, is it Rich Gill? Yeah. Some guy that we've met a couple of times. Yeah. Jamie Rutherford. Like Steve, obviously, who goes out and takes all those amazing pictures for Sportiva. Mm-hmm. There's loads of good photography. You got an amazing picture this year of you asleep in a church.
Oh,
Who took that picture? Was
Tom Hoyle.
Oh my God! Yeah. Have you seen it, Gary? Let me show you a picture of it. So, for context, for people who are listening and not watching and have not seen this picture before, it's really atmospheric. It's in basically at the end of the pews in the church, isn't it? You've got the pews either side, and you're at the end with a cross above you, and you're asleep. It's unbelievable. Have you had it printed out? That?
I've got it on my wall. My mum's got it on their wall. Obviously, my parents have got it. So it looks, when you look at that, you think, oh, she looks so comfortable and she's having a really good nap. It were horrendous. It were absolutely horrendous. It was just good timing that he was there. So that's in Burness Church. So Burness isn't an official checkpoint, but they keep the church open for you to go in, and there's like a tea and coffee thing in there. So, but it's the last point before you go over the Cheviots. So you've got 25-ish mile from there to the finish of the Cheviots, but there's nowhere else
to go.
So
plus no one to talk to.
No one to talk to. No, you're completely on your own. So I tried to have a bit of a sleep in that church, but it looks comfortable, doesn't it?
Does.
But it were horrendous.
It looks fucking freezing.
It's
just my only memory. Whenever you think church, it just feels freezing looking at that photo.
It was so cold, and I should have probably got my sleeping bag out there, but I just tried to cover myself with
that. Is it right in the bottom of the pack, all right?
Yeah.
Covered in piss.
Covered in piss and lube.
Sorry, God.
We're going to hit all the SEO on this one, aren't we?
I nicked the cover that's over me off the organ.
Oh, really?
So I pulled that over to try and keep warm, but
fantastic.
Oh, it was so cold. But that's literally
I mean, if a picture can tell a story, though, it says 1,000 words, doesn't it? That it really does.
Yeah.
But I think the whole event, it just lends itself to amazing photography, doesn't it? Like when
the
you're
media
watching
team's
it,
brilliant.
It's an incredible event to follow, to work with, because I also do all the reporting on the sports shoe side, and the information they give us, the access to the pictures, the press reports. It's an amazing media team. They've got it totally nailed.
Yeah, they have, and it's good for people. I think there's a bit of a, like with the Barclay, there's a bit, obviously Keith and his cryptic tweets when the Barclay's on, but there's a bit of a fine line between giving people enough access and there not being access in there. But the Spine seem to get it right. They do the little videos and they do the daily updates, so it's just enough info so people can see what's going on without being too intrusive.
Definitely. It's a good balance, you're right.
Yeah, because Tom, obviously took that photo and he got some really good photos of some of the athletes, but you wouldn't know who were there for most of it.
No.
He didn't come over, will you just do this?
Just lurking around.
Yeah, he's just lurking, snapping away. And then when I finished, obviously that came out, I was like, oh, that's it.
Yeah, that was an amazing picture.
But they keep out of the way. But the Spine have tried to do that, because obviously with social media these days, I know there was one, I don't know his name, some guy on Instagram that was trying to follow the front athletes and trying to do interviews for his own Instagram page, which is a bit annoying because you want to be on your own, and obviously Spine are paying these media team to put out what they want to put out, so they must get, but you're going to get that with the racers as they get bigger.
Probably going to get it, more and more, I was going to say, which is a shame. I know there's issues now with UTMB because there's people trying to capture people's running journeys and stories, and obviously the finale being the UTMB or a UTMB race, and they've got people with like what they called, where you Osmos, where you run with the cameras and in front of them, but they're blocking people's like race pictures, official race pictures and things like that, and getting in the way of the actual media coverage.
Yeah, because they want their own content.
Exactly. Yeah, and I know it's a contentious issue now in trail running, but
I've been asked to go to, because I've been asked to do it officially, obviously, go to races and create content stuff, but I've also, funny enough, been asked to go to certain ones like unofficially, and I'm like, I'm not going on a route. There's the odd one where, like me and Robbie Britton are giving out ice pops, and that's different, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't. We just did that last minute. We were doing the ice pops, but I put the camera there last minute. But to go out, I would never go out on a route and kind of get in the way of the runners and
follow one athlete.
Follow one athlete and try and interview, especially, I say especially a front runner, should be the same rule for everyone, but some people are just happy to chat maybe. But yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah,
you don't want to block any race photography. It's like when I picked you up and gave you a lift as part of that Trans-Gran Canaria in the car and blocked a few. Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. I'm only joking.
Give me a very good lift, mate. It took me 28 hours.
It was a shit car.
Couldn't even get me the right drink. Never mind, give me a lift.
I've been sacked from his running crew.
Have you? Why? What did you do?
I love San Pellegrino, right? But I asked for sparkling water. I was like, and no problem. Didn't even know if Ben was going to turn up because there was other people there. But if you do, but he specifically asked, "What do you want?" I said there's sparkling water. It's not difficult, that, is it? Yeah, and I was hanging at this point, come with his bag. He's like, "Hey!" You can imagine, and it was great to see him. Got your water, mate, and he pulls it out, and it was tonic. He'd bought a tonic water.
I thought I'd got the sparkling water, honestly.
I'm walking along speaking to a lad, and you can see the realisation in his face. He's going, I'm so sorry, Gary. I'm so sorry. I was like, honestly, mate, it doesn't matter. We're nearly finished now. Job,
so that's it. No more.
With his little carrier bags of stuff, like he got a couple of beers for himself, and like me a tonic water.
Yeah, I myself.
24 hours into a race.
Now, if either of these offer to help you with anything, politely decline. Gary will be late, and Ben will bring the wrong thing.
Noted.
Yeah.
No crewing.
I think we should probably close it there, but just to say a huge thanks, Mel, and a huge well done as well, because what you've done is nothing short of inspiring, and I hope you realise that. And I know you're too modest to sort of like probably accept it, but honestly, it's been amazing to watch your journey, not just at the spine, but up to the spine. So keep doing what you're doing, keep being you, and let's get you on again soon.
Yes, and I'll be back, hopefully, if you'll have me.
100%.
Definitely,
yeah. I think there's more we want to talk about.
There is.
I'll try and ease into the conversation rather than just drop the big bomb in next time. Now we've got more time. I just knew it was going to be a lengthy episode, this, and it was good to set the scene with what you've achieved and how you've achieved it, because you've been through a lot. So
we've only got one question left to ask. I think we'll save that for next time.
Yeah, we'll save that for next time. So without further ado, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, see you next Tuesday.
You won't.
You can listen actually. Yeah. That's the only little sign off that I requested.
Well, that's evidence that Mel's never watched to the end of a podcast.
I get bored.
Yeah. You're going to listen to this one though?
Yes.
Excellent. Oh, it's really good, Mel. Thank you. I find I'm learning loads of stuff on these podcasts as well, because the spine isn't a race I'd never think of myself as doing. So like,
would you do now? Has it planted the seed, do you reckon?
I don't know whether I go straight in. But
I reckon when we're both like 50, we could do it.
Yeah, maybe.
Like a walking holiday.
Yeah.
The problem I've got at the minute is like, because I can't train how I used to train. I might be able to in the future, but because I can't at the moment, I can't see myself going to do a spine because I won't be at my fittest, or I can't get myself to that kind of fittest level. But when you should, like a bit like Mel saying, you could just go into it and...
Oh, yeah.
I'm no doubt I could get round, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm not there yet, though. I don't fancy
it. It has inspired me, though. It's really good. Amazing.
You should do it.
Thank you.
I think you should.
Would you say